The night sky over Earth was calm, but far beyond the glittering stars, something new had entered the galaxy. A fleet of silver ships shaped like crescent moons drifted silently into the outer edge of the Milky Way. They belonged to the Galactic Empire, a vast civilization that had ruled thousands of worlds for over 10,000 years. To the Empire, the discovery of a small blue planet was nothing unusual. They had found countless planets before. Most of them were weak, eager to join the Empire's order. In a grand observation hall aboard the Imperial flagship Radiant Crown, Scholar Varen stood near the wide viewing window. The endless dark of space reflected in his silver eyes as he studied the reports. He was not a soldier. He was a historian, one of the few in the Empire who still believed that every new species deserved careful study before contact. The new planet caught his attention not because of its size or resources, but because of the patterns hidden in its signals. "They call their world Earth," said an aide, placing a glowing tablet on the table. "Their people are known as humans. Their technology is primitive. They only just discovered faster-than-light travel. High Command believes they will join the Empire easily." Varen traced a finger over the glowing map of the Sol system. "Primitive," he repeated softly. "Perhaps, but look at this." He brought up a series of historical data pulled from intercepted transmissions, old broadcasts, digital archives, and ancient music carried by deep space signals. The aide tilted her head. "These are wars, revolutions, and songs?" "Not just wars," Varen replied. "Cycles. These humans rise and fall, but every fall leads to a greater rise. Their progress is not slow and steady. It is sudden, explosive. They leap forward when pressed. Every time they are threatened, they adapt." The aide frowned. "High Command will not care for patterns. They see only another small world." "That," Varen said quietly, "is what concerns me." On Earth, in the heart of the United Nations Space Command in Geneva, a different kind of worry filled the room. Captain Elena Cross, commander of Earth's first true deep space vessel Dauntless, stood before a council of world leaders. The room smelled faintly of metal and ozone from the newly installed holoprojectors. "The unknown fleet entered the Oort cloud 12 hours ago," Elena reported. Her voice was calm but firm. "We have intercepted faint signals. They are not natural. The ships are enormous, larger than anything in our own navy. They have not attempted contact yet," the council murmured uneasily. Representatives from different nations whispered in their own languages, but the meaning was the same everywhere. Fear. Earth had united only recently to build the first faster-than-light ship. Humanity had dreamed of meeting intelligent life, but they had expected peace, not silent warships. An elder scientist, Dr. Adil Khan, adjusted his glasses and spoke. "Have they detected us?" "We believe so," Elena said. "Our FTL test signals cannot be hidden. If they are as advanced as the scan suggests, they know we are here." The Secretary General, a tall woman with sharp eyes, leaned forward. "Do we hide, Captain Cross? Do we attempt contact?" Elena took a slow breath. "With respect, hiding is no longer possible. Their probes have already entered our system. If we remain silent, they will define the terms of contact. We must decide what kind of species we want them to meet." Her words settled over the room like a heavy blanket. For centuries, humans had been divided by borders and pride. Now faced with a power that might crush them, the question was no longer about nations but survival. Far beyond Earth, the Imperial scout fleet floated near the frozen edge of the system. Their commander, Admiral Serac, stood on the bridge of his cruiser. He looked at the small blue planet displayed on the main screen and felt nothing but boredom. "So this is Earth," Serac said with a cold smile, "a young species barely touching the stars. High Command will want a quick submission. Send the standard message." A communications officer nodded and began to transmit a carefully worded statement. It was the same message the Empire had sent to hundreds of worlds. A promise of peace in exchange for loyalty, and a threat of destruction if refused. Within hours, the message reached Earth. The words were calm but heavy with power. "People of Earth, the Galactic Empire greets you. Your world has been observed and found suitable for inclusion in the Imperial Order. You will surrender your sovereignty and join the Empire. In return, you will receive protection and advancement. Refusal will bring consequences. Respond within 1 Earth day." The message played across every major network. Citizens stopped in the streets staring at giant screens. Children in schools asked their teachers if aliens were real. Soldiers in secret bases tightened their grips on weapons. For the first time in history, every human heart beat with the same question: what do we do now? At the United Nations Space Command, the Council gathered again. The Imperial demand echoed in the air like a silent storm. Some leaders whispered that surrender was the only logical path. "We cannot fight a civilization that spans the stars," said one delegate. "We must survive." Others refused. A young representative from Africa stood and shook his head. "If we surrender now, we give up more than our freedom. We give up what it means to be human. Our history is not obedience. It is struggle." Elena Cross listened carefully, then stepped forward. "Our choice is not only surrender or war," she said. "We can respond with dignity. We can show them that we are not a frightened species waiting to be ruled. We can prepare defenses while seeking dialogue." Her calm strength filled the room. Scientists proposed new ideas: experimental shields, adaptive AIs, quantum communication systems. Engineers promised to work without rest. Old rival nations offered their fleets to a united command. For the first time, humanity stood as one. The Secretary General turned to Elena. "Captain Cross, you will lead the Dauntless to the edge of the system. Observe their fleet. If they attempt force, you will warn them." Elena saluted. "Understood." As the meeting ended, the Earth rotated peacefully below the stars, unaware of the weight of the decision. Children slept in their homes. Cities glowed with soft lights. But in the darkness beyond Pluto, humans prepared for their first true test as a species. Aboard the Dauntless, Elena walked through the humming corridors, listening to the sound of engines warming for departure. Her crew moved with quiet determination. No one spoke of fear. Every hand that touched a console, every eye that scanned a sensor, carried the same thought: humanity will not bow without a fight. Back on the Radiant Crown, Scholar Varen read the first fragments of Earth's reply as they reached the Imperial fleet. The human's message was short and carefully written. "We acknowledge your presence. Earth is an independent world. We do not seek conflict, but we will not surrender our freedom. If you come in peace, we will speak. If you come in force, we will defend ourselves." Varen closed his eyes and felt a shiver of recognition. The words were simple, but the meaning was clear. These humans were not like the others. They were warning the Empire in their own quiet way. He turned to Admiral Serac. "Do not underestimate them," he said softly. "History favors those who refuse to kneel." Serac laughed, dismissing the warning. "They are children playing at courage. The Empire has crushed greater powers than this." But Varen continued to watch the small blue planet, the spark of defiance glowing brighter with every passing moment. He could see what the Admiral could not: a species that had faced extinction before and learned to rise stronger each time. The silent arrival was no longer silent. It was the beginning of something far greater, a meeting that would test not just the strength of Earth but the soul of the entire galaxy. The first contact message from Earth spread through the Empire's network like a quiet spark in dry grass. On board the Imperial flagship Radiant Crown, Admiral Serac studied the human reply with a frown. It was not the fearful plea he had expected. The words were respectful but firm, offering dialogue yet refusing surrender. To Serac, it was an insult. To Scholar Varen, it was confirmation of every warning he had given. "They are clever," Varen said, standing beside the glowing message screen. "They speak of peace, but every sentence shows resolve. They are not afraid of us." "Not afraid?" Serac's voice dripped with contempt. "They have one ship capable of faster-than-light travel. We command 1,000 fleets. Their courage is nothing but ignorance, or preparation," Varen replied softly. "History shows that humans grow stronger when threatened. They will not sit idle while we debate." Serac waved a dismissive hand. "High Command has already decided. We will send a demonstration fleet. 12 warships will arrive at their moon and show them the Empire's strength. When they see the scale of our power, their pride will break." Varen watched the Admiral with quiet concern. He had studied countless species and he recognized the dangerous pattern: overconfidence. The Empire had conquered so many worlds that they no longer believed resistance was possible. But Varen's instincts told him that Earth was not a typical world. On Earth, the reply from the Empire, an announcement of an incoming fleet to establish proper relations, shocked the United Nations Space Command. The message was wrapped in polite words, but everyone understood the meaning. The Empire was coming to force obedience. Captain Elena Cross stood once again before the Council of World Leaders. Her uniform was freshly pressed, but her eyes carried the heavy strain of sleepless nights. Behind her, the great screens displayed the Empire's fleet trajectory. 12 massive warships were on their way, moving through the outer planets at unimaginable speed. "They will arrive near the moon in 6 days," Elena said. "They have not declared war, but their approach is hostile. We must act now." The council chamber buzzed with urgent whispers. Some leaders demanded immediate surrender to avoid destruction. Others insisted on military resistance. The air was thick with fear. Dr. Adil Khan, the elder scientist, raised his voice above the noise. "We cannot match their numbers or their firepower," he said. "But we can outthink them. Humanity's strength has always been our ability to adapt. We must use our minds, not just our weapons." The Secretary General looked at Captain Cross. "What do you propose?" Elena took a steady breath. "We respond with calculated defiance. We will not attack first, but we will show them that Earth is not helpless. Our best engineers must prepare new defenses. Our scientists must unlock every unfinished project. We must be ready to surprise them." The council fell silent as her words sank in. For centuries, humanity had struggled to unite. Now, with the stars watching, they stood together. Old rivalries faded in the shadow of a common threat. In laboratories buried deep beneath the mountains, teams of engineers and scientists worked without rest. Quantum shield generators, once theoretical, were assembled at record speed. Drone swarms equipped with adaptive AI were programmed to confuse enemy targeting systems. Gravity distortion prototypes, once considered too dangerous, were tested in hidden orbital stations. Every nation contributed. Russian physicists shared secret energy research. Indian mathematicians solved complex navigation algorithms. African engineers perfected solar energy reactors. American and Chinese teams collaborated on stealth technology. Humanity, long divided by borders, now worked as one mind. Captain Cross spent long hours aboard the Dauntless, overseeing the integration of new systems. Her crew, pilots, technicians, and young cadets, moved with a quiet urgency. They knew the odds. They also knew that fear would not save them. "Captain," said Lieutenant Harris, a bright-eyed tactical officer, "the quantum shields are operational, but they drain power faster than expected." "Keep refining," Elena replied. "We won't win with firepower. We win by staying alive long enough to make them doubt." Across the solar system, preparations continued. Civilian broadcasts encouraged calm but firm resolve. Children painted pictures of stars and ships, unaware of the tension their parents carried. Farmers on distant colonies donated resources for defense. Even the most remote communities felt the weight of the approaching fleet. On Mars, scientists used hidden telescopes to track the Imperial ships. The images were terrifying. Colossal vessels glowing with unknown energy, each one larger than the entire Dauntless. But fear turned to determination. Every new image was a reminder of why Earth must resist. Back aboard the Radiant Crown, Scholar Veyron studied the latest intercepts of human transmissions. The humans spoke openly of unity, of preparation, of survival. Their words were not empty speeches. He saw evidence of rapid technological leaps, progress that should have taken decades compressed into days. He turned to Admiral Serac. "They are building defenses. Their growth rate is unnatural." "We must approach carefully," Serac scoffed. "A few shields and drones will not stop Imperial plasma cannons. Our fleet will show them reality." Veyron's voice lowered. "Admiral, I beg you to reconsider. History favors those who learn from their opponents. If we force a battle, we may awaken something we cannot control." Serac leaned forward, his eyes like cold metal. "The Empire does not fear children. Prepare the fleet for demonstration." On the eve of the Empire's arrival, Captain Cross addressed the world through a live broadcast. Her image appeared on screens in cities, villages, and space stations. Her voice was steady and clear, carrying across oceans and into the hearts of billions. "People of Earth," she began, "a great power approaches our world. They believe we are weak. They believe we will surrender. But we are more than a planet. We are a history of survival. We are explorers, dreamers, builders. We will meet them with open hands and strong hearts. We will not attack first, but we will not kneel. Stand united. Protect each other. Show them who we are." Her words lit a fire in every corner of the planet. Soldiers trained with renewed determination. Engineers pushed their limits. Farmers, teachers, and workers sent supplies and volunteered for defense. Humanity was no longer a collection of nations. It was one people standing together. The Dauntless departed Earth's orbit, gliding silently toward the edge of the system. Inside the control room, the crew watched the distant stars where the Imperial fleet approached. Every sensor was active, every shield charged. Lieutenant Harris broke the silence. "Captain, do you think they will listen to reason?" Elena's eyes remained on the stars. "I think they will listen to strength. Reason follows strength." The crew nodded, understanding her meaning. They would show the Empire that Earth was not prey. Meanwhile, in the shadows of deep space, the first phase of humanity's plan unfolded. Decoy satellites drifted beyond Neptune, broadcasting false signals to confuse Imperial scanners. Drone swarms hid within asteroid fields, ready to spring unexpected maneuvers. Gravity mines, invisible to ordinary sensors, floated quietly near the moon. These were not weapons of destruction, but tools of survival designed to delay, to frustrate, to force the Empire to think. On the Radiant Crown, alarms chimed as Imperial sensors detected the decoys. Admiral Sarge narrowed his eyes. "They are hiding their strength. Clever but pointless. We will crush their toys and show them the cost of defiance." Scholar Varen, however, felt a deep unease. He watched the patterns of the false signals, the sudden appearance of hidden drones, the subtle gravitational disturbances near the moon. These were not the actions of a desperate species. They were the moves of a strategist. "They are testing us," Varen whispered. "They are preparing the battlefield." Sarge ignored him. "Already planning the demonstration strike." Back on Earth, as the Imperial fleet drew closer, Captain Cross received the final reports from her teams. Shields were ready. Drones were hidden. Communications were secure. Humanity had done everything possible. Now they would wait. Elena stood at the observation deck of the Dauntless, staring into the infinite night. Somewhere beyond those stars, an ancient empire was coming, confident of victory, but she felt no fear. Instead, she felt a steady resolve. "Let them come," she murmured to herself. "Let them see what Earth has become." The stars remained silent, but in their cold light, the future of two civilizations approached like a slow storm. The next encounter would decide more than survival. It would decide whether humanity's defiance would echo across the galaxy or end in silence. The stars above the moon glittered like frozen sparks as the Imperial fleet entered Earth's space. 12 massive warships glided forward in perfect formation. Their silver hulls reflected the faint glow of distant sunlight, turning them into moving mirrors of power. The Galactic Empire had arrived. Aboard the flagship Radiant Crown, Admiral Sarge stood tall on the command deck. He wore the dark uniform of the Empire, his eyes shining with cold pride. Around him, officers worked quickly at glowing consoles, their movements precise and confident. To them, this mission was routine. Another young species to intimidate, another easy victory to add to the Empire's endless list. "Bring us into lunar orbit," Sarge ordered. "Begin the demonstration. Target their largest orbital station, but do not destroy it completely. We will show them what we can do without spilling unnecessary blood." The officers nodded. Energy flowed through the fleet as weapons warmed to full power. Sarge allowed himself a small smile. Soon the humans would understand the futility of defiance. But far from the moon, hidden in the cold shadows of the asteroid belt, the Dauntless waited. Captain Elena Cross stood on her bridge, surrounded by the quiet hum of the ship's advanced systems. Her eyes were locked on the tactical display where the enemy fleet appeared as bright crimson dots. "They are moving into position," reported Lieutenant Harris. "Weapons charged." "No signs of communication." Elena's voice remained calm. "Maintain stealth protocols. Deploy decoy satellites in Sector 7. Activate gravity traps near the lunar corridor." The crew moved quickly, their fingers dancing across control panels. Tiny drones launched silently from the ship, spreading across space like seeds on the wind. Invisible to ordinary sensors, they carried advanced jammers, gravity disruptors, and holographic projectors. Earth had no fleet to match the Empire's power, but it had something far more dangerous: human ingenuity. The first Imperial cruiser entered the moon's shadow, its sensors scanning for human defenses. Suddenly, alarms rang across the bridge. "Admiral!" shouted a sensor officer. "Unexpected gravitational anomalies detected. Navigation systems are unstable." Before Sarge could respond, a series of false signals erupted across the fleet's scanners. Dozens of phantom ships appeared out of nowhere, their signatures identical to real warships. Imperial targeting computers struggled to separate illusion from reality. Counter-jamming protocols. Serac barked. These are tricks. Maintain formation. But the more his officers worked, the more confusing the battlefield became. Holographic fleets appeared, vanished, and reappeared. Gravitational traps nudged Imperial ships off course, pulling them dangerously close to one another. For the first time in his career, Admiral Serac felt a flicker of unease. On the Dauntless, Elena watched the chaos unfold. Her heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. Drone swarms 2 and 3 advanced to secondary positions, she commanded. Engage decoy patterns Gamma and Delta. Do not fire unless fired upon. Lieutenant Harris grinned. They're chasing ghosts, Captain. That's the idea, Elena replied. Let them fear what they can't see. Hidden among the asteroid belt, Earth's drone swarms moved like silent predators. Their adaptive AI shifted tactics every few seconds, creating new phantom signatures and jamming Imperial communications. From the Empire's perspective, it seemed as if hundreds of human warships were surrounding them. Serac gripped the edge of his command table as more false signals filled the screen. This is impossible, he muttered. No species this young should have such advanced deception technology. Scholar Veyron stepped forward. Admiral, I warned you. They are not like others we have faced. We must open communication before we escalate. Serac's eyes burned with stubborn pride. They will not dictate terms to the Empire. Prepare a precision strike. Destroy one of their orbital stations as planned. Show them our power. The order spread across the fleet. A cruiser locked onto a target, a human satellite cluster orbiting Earth. Its plasma cannons glowed with deadly light. But before the weapons could fire, a sudden gravitational surge rocked the ship. The cannons misaligned and the energy discharge scattered harmlessly into space. What happened? Serac demanded. Unknown, replied the weapons officer, panic creeping into his voice. It's as if space itself bent for a moment. Veyron stared at the data in disbelief. They are bending gravity. Impossible! But they have done it. At the United Nations Space Command in Geneva, world leaders and scientists watched the unfolding battle through live feeds from the Dauntless. Gasps filled the chamber as Imperial warships twisted and spun, struggling to maintain formation. Dr. Adil Khan leaned toward the screen. Remarkable, he whispered. They are using micro-singularity fields to destabilize enemy weapons without firing a shot. The Secretary-General clenched her fists. Will it hold? For now, Khan said. But the Empire will adapt. We must be ready for their next move. The Dauntless continued its silent dance in the asteroid belt. Elena monitored every Imperial response, anticipating their countermeasures. She knew the Empire's technological advantage was overwhelming, but she also knew that victory was not their goal. Survival and doubt were the real objectives. Captain, Harris reported, their flagship is broadcasting a new signal. It's not a weapon. It looks like a communication request. Elena's heart skipped. Open a secure channel. Let's hear what they have to say. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Admiral Serac. Behind him, the command deck of the Radiant Crown glowed with tense activity. This is Admiral Serac of the Galactic Empire, he said, his voice sharp. Your tricks have delayed us, but they cannot save you. Surrender now and you will be treated with leniency. Resist and we will unleash the full strength of the Empire. Elena kept her face calm, though her heart hammered in her chest. This is Captain Elena Cross of the United Nations Space Command, she replied. Earth seeks peace, but we will not surrender. We will defend our world. If you attack, you will pay a price you are not prepared to pay. Serac's eyes narrowed. You cannot possibly... Before he could finish, a sudden tremor shook the Radiant Crown. Warning lights flashed across his bridge. Admiral, shouted an officer, one of our cruisers has lost power. Their engines are completely offline. Serac turned sharply. Explain! It appears a gravitational lock has pinned them in place, the officer stammered. We cannot break it. Veyron stepped closer, his voice quiet but firm. Admiral, they are proving their strength without bloodshed. This is a message. They can cripple us without destroying us. Serac's face darkened. Back on the Dauntless, Elena maintained her calm exterior. Transmit our final warning, she ordered. Lieutenant Harris sent the message across the Imperial network. We do not wish for conflict. But if you continue to threaten Earth, we will disable your fleet one ship at a time. Leave now or face consequences. The message spread like a quiet thunderclap. Across the Imperial ships, officers exchanged uneasy glances. Their sensors confirmed the truth. One of their own cruisers was trapped, completely powerless. Without a single human shot fired, Sirac paced the bridge of the Radiant Crown. Every instinct told him to retaliate, but the data was undeniable. The humans had technology capable of manipulating gravity itself, something the Empire had never mastered. Another misstep could lead to disaster. Scholar Varen placed a hand on the Admiral's shoulder. Admiral, they have shown both strength and restraint. To continue this conflict is to invite humiliation. Request a ceasefire. Learn from them. For a long moment, Sirac said nothing. Pride warred with reason in his mind. Finally, he exhaled sharply. Signal the fleet, hold fire. We will withdraw to high orbit for negotiations. The order rippled through the Imperial formation. Weapons powered down. Engines shifted to retreat vectors. Slowly, the mighty fleet pulled back from the moon's shadow. On Earth, cheers erupted as the live feed showed the Empire's retreat. People in cities and villages hugged one another, tears of relief shining in their eyes. Children pointed at the night sky, whispering about the strange new future. In the command room of the Dauntless, Elena allowed herself a small smile. They blinked first, she said quietly. Lieutenant Harris grinned. I think we just taught an Empire how to hesitate. But Elena knew the struggle was far from over. The Empire would not forget this humiliation. They would return stronger and more cautious. Humanity's victory was only a pause in a much larger conflict. She turned to her crew, her voice steady. Prepare for the next phase. We have bought time. Now we must use it. Outside, the stars shone silently, bearing witness to the first clash between a young planet and an ancient empire. Humanity had faced the greatest power in the galaxy and had not broken. The warning had been delivered. The game had only just begun. The stars above Earth were calm, but beneath their quiet glow, human minds worked tirelessly. The first clash had proven one thing. The Empire underestimated them. Humanity had survived, but survival was only the beginning. Captain Elena Cross knew the next encounter would be far more dangerous. The Imperial fleet would return, stronger, wiser, and more cautious. Earth needed more than clever tricks. It needed a weapon the Empire could not ignore. In hidden orbital laboratories, engineers and scientists worked with unwavering determination. Their latest project was called the Gravity Lens Array, a network of satellites capable of bending space itself. By manipulating gravitational fields, it could immobilize entire ships, disrupt propulsion systems, and disable weapons without firing a single shot. It was dangerous, untested, and the only chance humanity had of leveling the playing field. Dr. Adil Khan, the lead physicist, addressed the team with quiet intensity. We have 6 days before the Empire regroups. If the calculations are correct, the array will give us control over localized space-time distortions. One coordinated strike and even their largest ships could be trapped. A young engineer, Mei Chen, looked nervously at the blueprints. And if it fails? She asked. We could destroy ourselves as well. Khan smiled faintly. Then it must succeed. Humanity does not have the luxury of failure. Captain Elena Cross oversaw every stage of the operation. From the Dauntless, she watched as satellites were deployed into precise orbits beyond the moon. Each one emitted low-frequency gravitational waves, invisible to the Empire's sensors. Drone fleets acted as sentinels, feeding real-time data back to the control system. Humanity had learned from the first clash. Invisibility, misdirection, and patience were more powerful than raw firepower. Status report, Elena ordered. Lieutenant Harris checked the console. All arrays online. Drones in position. Gravitational signatures within expected parameters. Good, Elena said. Maintain full stealth. Do not engage unless I give the order. Her crew nodded. They understood the stakes. One mistake could end Earth's chance to survive. Across the galaxy, the Imperial High Command analyzed the reports from the first clash. Scholar Varen continued to plead for caution, but pride and expectation ruled the council chambers. High-ranking officers demanded a second armada be sent to Earth, not merely for demonstration, but to establish absolute authority. This time, said Supreme Commander Kyle, we will overwhelm them. No tricks, no games. Show them the Empire is absolute. Varen's eyes narrowed. If you proceed without caution, you risk more than defeat. You risk awakening a species capable of surpassing us. Kyle waved dismissively. They are children. We are gods. But deep within the Imperial fleet, unease had begun to spread. The first clash had shaken the confidence of even the most seasoned officers. Ships that were supposed to be invincible had faltered. Systems had failed for reasons they could not fully understand. Doubt had begun to seed itself in hearts trained for obedience. On Earth, preparations continued. Civilians were moved to secure stations beneath mountains and oceans. Military units coordinated with engineers to ensure every system worked in harmony. The world had become a single organism, focused on one purpose: survival. In Geneva, the Secretary General watched the dauntless monitors with a mix of anxiety and hope. "Captain Cross," she said, "if the Empire returns with a full armada, can our defenses hold?" Elena met her gaze calmly. "We have a weapon they cannot predict. If used correctly, it will change the rules of engagement. But we must be precise. One misstep and Earth could be destroyed." Dr. Khan stepped forward. "The gravity lens array is ready, but we need a signal to synchronize it with their approach. Timing is everything. Too early, and the effect is lost. Too late, and the fleet may strike first." Elena nodded. "Then we wait, and we watch." The Imperial fleet moved like a shadow across the solar system. Hundreds of ships glimmered in formation, approaching Earth at faster-than-light speed. Admiral Surak, still shaken by the first encounter, ordered extreme caution. "Keep distance," he instructed. "We will not fall for their illusions again. Scan for traps and proceed slowly." Scholar Varen studied the fleet's movements with concern. "They do not yet understand the humans' capabilities," he said. "They think caution is enough. It is not." Inside the Dauntless, Elena monitored the Imperial approach. Every sensor, every system, every drone transmitted data in real time. The Empire's ships were massive, but the array had been designed to affect vessels of that scale. Patience was critical. "Keep scanning," she said. "Watch for any anomalies. Stay ready." As the fleet entered the inner solar system, the humans activated the first phase of the array. Small distortions appeared near the outer satellites, barely detectable. The drones monitored Imperial reactions, noting each adjustment. The Empire, unaware of what was happening, continued its approach. Then, just beyond the moon, the gravity lens array activated fully. A wave of distorted space rippled through the formation. Imperial ships suddenly slowed as if moving through thick syrup. Engines groaned, failing to maintain proper thrust. Weapons misaligned, unable to target accurately. Aboard the Radiant Crown, alarms screamed. "Admiral! Engines offline!" Weapon systems failing. Surak's face turned pale. "Impossible. This is impossible." Varen, however, was calm. "It is not impossible. It is human ingenuity. They have trapped you in their unseen weapon. You cannot fight what you cannot touch." The Imperial ships wavered, struggling to move as gravitational currents pinned them. Panic spread among the ranks. Communications faltered. The prideful officers who had demanded a full strike now trembled at the power of a species they had considered children. On the Dauntless, Elena's voice carried quietly over the bridge. "Hold steady. Observe their movements. Do not engage directly. Let them understand what they face." Lieutenant Harris grinned. "They're helpless, and they don't even know it." Elena shook her head. "Do not underestimate them. They will adapt. That is why we must be precise." The drones continued to feed data into the array, adjusting gravitational distortions with every second. The humans had turned space itself into a weapon, controlling the battlefield without a single shot fired. Across the Empire, panic began to grow. Officers argued over strategies, trying to regain control. Supreme Commander Kyle demanded a retreat, but pride and fear of humiliation delayed the order. Some ships attempted to escape, only to find the gravitational web tightening around them. Others tried to fire, but their plasma beams bent and dispersed unpredictably. Varen watched quietly. "They are learning the cost of arrogance," he murmured. "They have underestimated the spirit of humanity." Captain Cross made the decision to communicate directly. The Dauntless broadcast a single message across the Empire's disrupted networks. "We do not seek war. We seek peace. But we will not kneel, leave now, or face a force you cannot comprehend." The words reached every officer, every ship. Doubt spread like wildfire. For the first time, members of the Empire questioned the wisdom of their High Council. Could a small planet truly hold such power? Could humans, fragile by comparison, have built a weapon capable of stopping an entire fleet? Aboard the Dauntless, Elena allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. They have seen our strength, she said. Now we must ensure they remember it. The array continued to control the battlefield. Ships that had once seemed invincible now floated helpless, unable to maneuver. Systems failed, engines stuttered, weapons froze. Humanity had proven that ingenuity, courage, and determination could rival even the greatest power in the galaxy. Dr. Khan looked at the control panel, awe in his eyes. They have never faced anything like this. The entire fleet is immobilized. Elena nodded. This is only a warning. We do not destroy them. We show them what we are capable of. As the Empire struggled, Varen approached Serac. Do you see now? He asked. This is not brute force. This is intellect, strategy, and courage. Earth is no ordinary species. Serac clenched his fists. We will regroup. They will not escape the Empire forever. Varen shook his head. Perhaps. But they have sent a message. One that will echo throughout your history. You have learned that some species cannot be broken by fear alone. Back on Earth, the world watched in stunned silence as the live feeds showed the immobilized fleet. Humanity had not fired a single shot, yet they had brought the Empire to its knees, at least temporarily. Children pointed at the sky in wonder. Soldiers trained with renewed purpose. Citizens felt a quiet pride they had never known. Captain Cross turned from the monitor. Prepare for the next phase, she said. They will return. They always do. But now they know what we are capable of. Lieutenant Harris nodded. We've changed the rules of the game. Elena's eyes returned to the stars. Yes, she said quietly. And from now on, every move in this galaxy will respect Earth's warning. Cross us at your peril. The stars remained silent witnesses to the unseen weapon that had changed the balance of power. Humanity had survived the first wave. They had proven their courage, ingenuity, and resolve. But the war, the real test, was only beginning. The stars of the Tyren sector were quiet that night, or at least as quiet as a galaxy could be. Far beyond the bright clusters and restless trade routes, a lonely listening station floated in the darkness. Its name was Outpost Vera, a station built only for one purpose, to catch signals that no one else could hear. Inside the station, Kareth, a young linguist of the Zarn Collective, sat alone in the observation hall. His 4 delicate hands moved over glowing controls while his dark eyes followed the endless pattern of lights on the screen. Kareth had spent many years studying old signals, lost messages from dying stars, fragments of forgotten civilizations, and whispers of galaxies still unborn. Nothing surprised him anymore. But tonight something was different. A thin, sharp pulse cut through the background noise, soft at first but growing stronger. The sound was like a heartbeat echoing across the void, steady, patient, and strangely alive. Kareth paused, his ears lifting slightly. He adjusted the frequency. The pulse came again. Thump, thump. Each beat carried a rhythm too precise to be random. This was no natural signal. This was a message. Kareth called to the station's central AI. Unit Solon, identify the source. The machine responded in its calm, mechanical voice. Signal origin unknown. Direction outer spiral. Approximate age 12,000 cycles. Contained data pattern encrypted. Strength increasing. 12,000 cycles. That meant the signal had been traveling for more than 10,000 standard years. Long before Kareth's people had even begun to explore deep space. He felt a sudden chill. Begin recording. Alert the High Council. As the station hummed, the pulse shifted. Beneath the steady heartbeat, a second layer of sound began to form. Faint at first, like a whisper carried on cosmic winds, it slowly shaped itself into fragments of language. Kareth leaned closer. The words were rough and sharp, filled with sounds that twisted his tongue. But there was a rhythm, a pattern that spoke of meaning. He recognized none of the words, yet something about them felt familiar, as if they carried the memory of an ancient promise. He searched his memory banks and called up the old catalogs of extinct species. Thousands of languages scrolled past his eyes, each one a story of a people who had risen, lived, and fallen. And then, there it was, a match. The database highlighted a name almost lost to history: humanity. Kareth froze. Humans were a myth. The Zarn children whispered their name in bedtime tales. The older scholars spoke of them as a lesson in courage and tragedy. They were said to be wanderers of unmatched will, a species that dared to touch every corner of the galaxy before vanishing into silence. The official records were brief. Humanity had once ruled a small arm of the galaxy, fought endless wars, and finally disappeared after a great catastrophe. No living race had ever met them. No one even knew what they truly looked like, and yet, here was their voice calling across the stars. Kareth activated the emergency channel. "High Council, this is Linguist Kareth of Outpost Vera. I have intercepted an ancient transmission. Origin unknown. Species. Humanity." Static filled the line, followed by a tense reply. "Repeat, did you say humanity?" "Yes," Kareth answered. "The language pattern is confirmed. Signal strength rising. Encryption remains complex, but there is intent. Maintain observation," the Council ordered. "Do not attempt deep decoding until authorization is granted." The connection ended, but Kareth could not pull away from the console. He increased the gain and let the sound fill the hall. The heartbeat continued. Thump. Thump. Beneath it, the human words grew clearer, though still beyond full understanding. He caught fragments, tones of warning, notes of pride. The message did not cry for help. It did not beg for mercy. Instead, it carried a strange, calm defiance, like a warrior who speaks before a battle already won. Kareth felt the hair-like ridges along his neck rise. This was not the voice of a dying species. This was the voice of something that refused to die. Across the station, automated systems began to react. The signal was now strong enough to trigger alarms in distant relay satellites. Reports poured in from other listening posts, the same pulse, the same language, reaching them from different corners of the galaxy. It was as if the entire universe was waking to the sound of an ancient heart. Within hours, the great empires of the galaxy turned their attention to the message. The Var Dominion declared a state of alert. The Orion Guild sent fleets to the outer spiral to locate the source. Scholars from 100 worlds debated on open channels, their voices a mix of excitement and fear. Some claimed it was a trap, a weapon left behind by a long-dead enemy. Others argued it was only a natural echo, a meaningless relic of a forgotten war. But a few, those who studied the deeper layers of the signal, whispered a different theory. Perhaps humanity was not gone. Kareth ignored the noise of politics. He focused on the message itself, letting the sound guide him. As he listened, he began to sense patterns hidden beneath the obvious rhythm. Small changes in pitch formed symbols. Gaps between pulses carried silent numbers. It was a language inside a language, waiting for a mind brave enough to understand. He worked through the station's long night, his fingers dancing across the console as he broke piece after piece of the ancient code. Slowly, the meaning began to emerge. The first decoded line appeared on the screen. "To those who listen in the dark, we see you." Kareth's breath caught. A second line followed, clearer than the first. "We speak across the void. We remain. The word burned in his mind. How could they remain when all records claimed they were extinct? The signal pulsed again, stronger now, almost alive. The heartbeat quickened as if aware of his discovery. Kareth whispered to himself, "What are you trying to tell us?" Outside the station window, the stars glittered like watchful eyes. For the first time in his life, Kareth felt small, not because the galaxy was vast, but because something older and wiser was reaching out from beyond time itself. He thought of the stories his elders told. Humans were said to be stubborn beyond reason, a species that thrived in chaos and refused to surrender. They were builders and fighters, poets and wanderers. They survived Ice Age's wars and cosmic storms. When others hid, humans explored. When others surrendered, humans adapted. If this message was truly theirs, then extinction might not mean what everyone believed. Kareth saved the decoded lines and sent them to the High Council with an urgent note. Humanity speaks again. Their message is not a cry for help. It is a declaration. The Council would debate, the empires would argue, and the fleets would move. But none of them could stop the signal now. It had traveled too far, awakened too many ears. As Kareth listened to the final pulse of the cycle, the heartbeat slowed once more to its patient rhythm. Thump, thump. It was steady, fearless, eternal. And in that sound, Kareth heard a promise older than any empire. Humanity endures. The young linguist leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on the endless dark. Somewhere beyond the stars, something was waiting, something that had never truly died. The first night of the silent signal had ended, but the true story had only begun.